Romans 8:35 for those of you who are coming in now. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? And it says here, I'm going to say it again. Shall tribulation separate us from the love of Christ? No. Shall distress or persecution separate us from the love of Christ? No. Shall famine or nakedness separate us from the love of Christ? No. Shall peril or the sword separate us from the love of Christ? No. What is Paul saying here, Christians? I'm talking to Christians, not all these stupid, silly people that like to come on here and troll. I'm talking to you believers. Paul is saying in Romans 8:35 that nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. Nothing. Somebody says being saved does not mean you can continue in sin. Who's talking about that? Nobody's saying that. But the apostle says that nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. Now, Satan can't separate us from the love of Christ. Sorry, you're wrong. Now, let me take this a step further. It says that, Paul says that nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. Now, here's where it gets hard. Here's where I'm going to say a few things that many of you are not going to like, and I don't care. I don't care. The truth is the truth, and you have to deal with it. All right. Listen to me here. Paul says nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. That means that the soul that is loved by Christ, Paul doesn't say here that your separation from the love of Christ isn't a possibility if you do this or you do that. Paul simply states that nothing can separate you from the love of Christ. John 3:16, the most misunderstood and the most misquoted scripture in the entire Bible, because even sinners, unbelievers, will quote John 3:16. They will say that Christ loves all people, period. There is only two positions that we can take when it comes to the love of Christ. Oh, there's only two positions. One is either he loves every single person without exception, or he loves every single person without distinction. Meaning that those whom Christ loves are an elect, select group of people chosen from before the foundation of the world from among the mass of humanity. To build my case on this issue, I refer to Romans 8:35, where it says that nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. If Christ loves every single person without exception, every single person that has ever been born, if Christ loves them, then none of them will be separated from him, which means that no one would be in hell. No one can go to hell. Judas is saved. King Saul is saved, Cain would have to be saved. Everyone, listen to me. If Christ loves every single person, and I know so many of you believe that because you've been told that. You've been told that. Paul says here in Romans 8:35, he says it plainly, nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. I have a question for all of you. If nothing can separate anyone from the love of Christ, my question is this: how